The camera pans over a jagged canyon under a pale alien sun. Shadows twist unnaturally as massive footprints tear through the rock. Alien patrols whisper warnings about a creature no one has survived. Suddenly, a soft giggle echoes, too small for the canyon, yet it halts every soldier in their tracks. A lone human child stands at the edge, staring straight at the darkness ahead. The ground trembles beneath a distant roar, and the air vibrates with a power no one can control. The canyon stretched endlessly under the dim light of the alien sun, jagged rocks casting long shadows across the dusty ground. Alien scouts whispered nervously, their limbs trembling as the massive footprints cut through the soil. No creature had left such marks before, and fear hung thick in the air. Every movement, every distant rumble made the soldiers glance nervously at one another, unsure if they should advance or retreat. From the ridge above, a lone human child crouched, eyes wide and unafraid. The child's small figure seemed fragile against the enormity of the cliffs, yet there was a calmness about them that no one could explain. "It's just a creature," muttered one alien soldier, though his voice shook. "It destroys everything it touches." A distant roar echoed through the canyon, low and vibrating, and the ground quivered beneath their feet. Some scouts stumbled, clutching their weapons tightly. "Do we move back?" one asked, fear coating his words. Others nodded, but the child remained still, staring at the darkness beyond the cliff. The first signs of movement appeared far below. A shadow shifted, enormous and fluid, stretching across the canyon floor. Rocks rattled as if the ground itself was alive. The creature emerged slowly, its massive form hidden at first by the dust swirling around it. Every step it took left craters, sending small stones tumbling down the canyon walls. The soldiers froze, hearts pounding. "Stay calm," the commander whispered, his tone sharp but strained. "Do not provoke it." The child's lips moved softly, words too quiet for anyone else to hear. A breeze carried the sound just enough for the creature to pause, its enormous head tilting slightly. Its eyes, glowing faintly in the dim light, followed the small human figure with uncanny intelligence. Every scout gasped, unsure if what they were seeing was fear or curiosity from the beast. Suddenly, the creature emitted a low growl, shaking the dust from the rocks above. "Hold your ground," the commander shouted. Some soldiers raised their weapons, aiming at the massive silhouette below. Before anyone could fire, the child stepped forward, small but steady, raising one hand. "It's okay," they whispered, their voice soft but clear. The roar that followed was deafening. The creature slammed a massive paw into the canyon floor, sending a shockwave through the dust and pebbles. Alien scouts scrambled to maintain balance, some falling to their knees. The child did not flinch. Slowly, almost imperceptibly, the beast's growl faltered. Its chest heaved violently, and its glowing eyes fixed on the human child as if trying to understand them. "Do you see that?" one soldier gasped, pointing at the child. It's listening." A sudden tremor ran through the canyon. Rocks shifted along the cliffs, small landslides tumbling down, narrowly missing the soldiers below. The beast bellowed again, more forceful, more agitated. Panic rippled through the team. "Take cover," someone yelled. The scouts dove behind boulders as the child stood their ground, whispering again, a calm repetition of 3 words that no one else understood. The creature hesitated, its massive claws scraping the rock, leaving deep gouges in the stone. Its chest rose and fell rapidly, steam rising from its nostrils. The canyon seemed to shrink under its presence, and the soldiers realized that nothing they had prepared could contain it. Every weapon felt insignificant against the sheer scale of the beast. Then something unexpected happened. A distant screech echoed from the shadows near the canyon's far wall. A smaller, unknown creature darted along the rocks, moving too fast for the eyes to follow. The massive beast snapped its head toward the sound, nostrils flaring, muscles coiling. The child's small voice rang out again, clear and unwavering. The beast's gaze snapped back to them, its body trembling with tension. The commander shouted, "Keep your distance. Do not," but his voice was lost in the chaos. Dust and pebbles tumbled from the cliffs as the smaller creature disappeared into a narrow crevice, leaving an eerie silence that only amplified the beast's low growl. The air vibrated with anticipation, as if the canyon itself was holding its breath. The child's hand stretched toward the massive shadow, lips moving in a quiet, steady chant. The glow in the creature's eyes softened slightly, a curious flicker replacing the fury. Soldiers watched in stunned silence, unable to look away as the impossible unfolded before them. This enormous, terrifying being, the galaxy's most feared predator, paused. It lowered its massive head slightly, sniffing the air around the child. But then a rumble deeper in the canyon shook loose a wall of rocks above them. Dust and debris cascaded down, threatening to crush everything below. The soldiers shouted, scrambling, but the child remained, eyes locked on the beast. The massive creature froze mid-step, the cliffside quaking beneath its weight. And then the roar came again, long, deep, and resonant, echoing off the canyon walls. It was a roar that seemed to shake the very air, a roar of anger, fear, and something no one could name. The child whispered one final word, calm and steady, reaching through the chaos. The cliff trembled violently, dust and stones falling in every direction. Soldiers cried out, trying to protect themselves. The beast's massive form wavered, caught between rage and curiosity, eyes fixed on the small human who dared to approach. And in that frozen moment, everyone realized that the canyon, the child, and the creature were on the edge of something no one could predict. The ground cracked loudly beneath the child's feet. A sudden, deep vibration ran through the canyon, louder than any roar, shaking the cliffs like a warning from the planet itself. The beast stiffened, its massive claws digging into the rock, while the child's hand remained raised, whispering the final 3 words that might either save them all, or bring the canyon crashing down. The ground trembled violently beneath the canyon, dust swirling in blinding clouds. Stones and small boulders slid down the cliffs as the massive beast loomed over the child, nostrils flaring and muscles tensing like a coiled spring. Alien soldiers scrambled, shouting warnings over the roar of falling rocks, but the child didn't flinch. Their small voice rose above the chaos, whispering the same 3 words, "You are safe," over and over as if the repetition could anchor the creature's raging mind. "Get back," one soldier yelled, fumbling with a weapon, but the commander's hand shot up. "No. Watch." His voice was tight with fear and disbelief. Everyone froze as the child's eyes held the beast's gaze. Something in the massive creature shifted. Its chest heaved, but instead of lunging, it took a slow, deliberate step back, pausing to sniff the air almost cautiously. A sudden crash from above sent a cascade of rocks tumbling. One struck the alien patrol, knocking a scout to the ground. Another soldier shouted, "It's going to crush us." Panic spread, but the child remained rooted to the spot. Tears streaked their dusty face, but their voice was steady. "You can trust me," they whispered, hand extended. The beast's glowing eyes flickered as it watched the small human, massive claws scraping the ground as it hesitated. From the canyon's shadow, a deep rumble began again. This time it wasn't the beast, it was the canyon itself. A narrow passage at the cliff's edge shifted, revealing cracks and fissures that hadn't been visible moments before. Alien sensors detected movement deep below. Something alive stirred in the rock, massive and unseen. The scouts' panic intensified. "Commander, there's something else down there," one shouted, voice shaking. The child tilted their head slightly, noticing the disturbance. They whispered again, calmer than before, "Don't be afraid." The beast froze at the words, nostrils flaring, then slowly stepped closer, lowering its massive head almost to the child's level. Its huge eyes scanned the tiny figure, and for the first time, the soldiers saw a trace of hesitation in its monstrous features. "By the stars, it's listening," murmured one scout, clutching their weapon so tightly the knuckles turned white. The commander's jaw tightened. "It's not just brute strength, it's intelligent." "Too intelligent," he muttered, shifting uncomfortably. But before he could act, a new threat emerged. From the shadowed fissures, a smaller, spiny creature leapt into view, darting with blinding speed. It hissed and screeched, eyes glowing a fiery red. The alien scouts froze, weapons raised, but the child barely flinched. The larger beast let out a terrifying roar, a mixture of warning and anger, its massive form trembling as it faced this new intruder. Dust and debris swirled around them, rocks crashing down as if the planet itself were reacting to the confrontation. "Move back. Move," a soldier screamed. Some tried to retreat, but the canyon's narrow ledges made escape difficult. The child stepped slightly forward, voice firm, whispering louder, "You are safe." The massive beast, for all its size, hesitated, then positioned itself between the child and the smaller creature. Its enormous claws dug into the cliff's edge, holding the ground as its body shifted to shield the child. One scout gasped. "It's protecting them." Another muttered under his breath, "Impossible, why would it protect a human?" The child's lips quivered, but their eyes remained steady, watching both creatures carefully. The smaller predator circled, hissing, clearly considering its next move. The wind carried its screeches like a warning across the canyon walls. The commander barked orders, panic edging his voice. Stand ready. It could turn on us at any second. But every soldier hesitated, caught in awe and fear. The massive beast's growl rose again, shaking the cliff face. Then, without warning, the ground beneath them groaned loudly, cracks spreading across the ledge where the soldiers were standing. Pebbles fell into the chasm below, and the air vibrated with the sound of impending collapse. "Watch your footing," someone yelled, stumbling backward. The child held their ground, hand raised, whispering steadily. The larger beast let out a deep, resonant sound, almost like a warning to the smaller predator, which hissed in response but stayed its movement, circling warily. The canyon trembled again, dust and rocks cascading from the cliffs, leaving the scouts scrambling to avoid the falling debris. And then a sudden, sharp tremor ran through the canyon floor. A chunk of rock split free from the cliffside and fell toward the ledge where the soldiers stood. The massive beast shifted instinctively, raising one massive paw as if to intercept the falling stone. The child's voice carried clearly across the chaos, soft and calm. "You can trust me." The beast froze for a heartbeat, muscles taut, eyes flicking from the child to the fissures below. The alien patrol held its breath, realizing the scale of what was happening. Every moment seemed stretched into eternity as dust hung in the air, the massive creature's chest rising and falling like a drum, and the smaller predator moving cautiously around the edges. The canyon trembled again, louder this time, as if warning them all that the next step could change everything. The child's eyes widened slightly as a low rumble echoed beneath their feet. The canyon's edge cracked again, wider this time, revealing a dark, yawning crevice. The larger beast shifted instantly, growling, its massive claws scraping into the stone, body coiling as if preparing for anything. The small predator paused, ears flat, watching the human and the giant creature with intent. And in that tense, frozen moment, the canyon seemed to hold its breath. Dust and rocks hung in the air. The massive beast lowered its head just slightly, eyeing the child, while the child whispered again, calm and unwavering. The fissure yawned wider, darkness spilling from its depths like a hungry void. From that shadow moved a presence far larger than the smaller predator, its bulk unseen but terrifying in every seismic pulse through the canyon floor. Alien soldiers froze, eyes darting between the fissure, the colossal beast guarding the child and the child themselves. Dust and pebbles tumbled from the cliffs as if the canyon itself shivered at the unknown threat. "Commander, it's huge," one scout whispered, voice trembling. We can't even see it." The commander gritted his teeth, gripping the railing of a ledge for balance. "Stay calm. Watch your flanks. Whatever it is, we need to stay together." But the tremor beneath them intensified, and panic edged every word. The child's small form remained at the cliff edge, hand outstretched, eyes locked on the massive beast that had been protecting them. "You're safe," the child murmured, each word carried with steady confidence, though their chest rose and fell in rapid, nervous gasps. The creature's head tilted, eyes glowing faintly as if understanding, sensing the child's calm intent. The smaller predator darted back into the fissure, wary of whatever was stirring below. A deafening roar erupted from the depths, shaking loose boulders from above. The soldiers ducked instinctively, some scrambling to avoid falling stones. The ground beneath the cliff cracked with a sharp, splitting sound. The commander's voice boomed above the chaos. "Fall back. Move now." But escape was nearly impossible. The canyon walls were jagged, the ledges narrow, and the child remained unmoving, facing the colossal guardian as if daring the canyon itself to act. Suddenly, the fissure revealed a shadowed bulk, a hulking form larger than any building the scouts had ever seen. It shifted, and the dust and debris fell like rainfall around it. The massive beast growled low, chest heaving violently, stepping protectively between the child and the emerging threat. The air hummed with tension, the canyon vibrating with every movement. One soldier stammered, It knows the child is the key, but what if it fails?" The commander's jaw tightened. "We don't know. Don't interfere. Watch and wait." The human child extended both arms, voice unwavering despite the chaos. "You can trust me," they whispered. The massive beast stiffened, muscles coiling like tightly wound springs, yet it did not attack the newly emerged colossus. Instead, it crouched slightly, ready to strike or defend, fully aware of the new danger. The shadowed intruder moved closer, its weight causing the canyon floor to quiver underfoot. A section of the cliff collapsed, and a cascade of rocks tumbled dangerously close to the child. The alien soldiers shouted warnings, some attempting to form a barrier, others frozen in awe at the protective stance of the first beast. The child ducked slightly but did not retreat, whispering again, steady as a heartbeat, "You're safe now." The massive creature growled in low, vibrating tones that echoed through the canyon. Its eyes were locked on the intruder, calculating, coiling, and ready to defend. The smaller predator hissed from the shadows, clearly intimidated by the hulking new presence. Every soldier, every scout, every alien being there realized that the child's calm voice and fearless stance were influencing the beast in ways they could not understand. Suddenly, the intruder lunged with incredible speed, shaking loose a shower of stones that narrowly missed the soldiers. The massive beast reacted instinctively, stepping forward to intercept. Dust and debris exploded around them. The child screamed, raising their arms, but their voice remained calm, repeating the 3 words like a mantra, "You are safe." The intruder's claws struck the cliffside with a deafening crash, sending vibrations through the canyon walls. The child's eyes widened as the ground beneath the ledge shifted, cracking in long lines. One massive boulder, loosened by the intruder's strike, began to slide toward them. The larger beast leaped with precision, pawing at the rock to stop its descent, dust and pebbles flying in all directions. Soldiers shouted, ducking and scrambling to avoid the collapse. The canyon seemed alive, every crack, every tremor, every movement feeding the escalating chaos. A sudden screech from above drew their attention. Rocks rained down from a cliff edge as a fissure tore open near the ridge, revealing glimpses of a third presence. Something fast, something intelligent, circling high above them like a hawk over prey. The child's whisper remained steady despite the increasing danger, "You are safe." The massive beast stiffened, glancing up at the new threat while still keeping its gaze on the child. One scout gasped, "Commander, there's too much happening. We can't control this." The commander's hand tightened on his weapon, voice sharp, "We survive by watching, not by interfering. Keep your distance." The ground rumbled again, louder, deeper, shaking loose a section of cliff beneath the alien soldiers. The child took a small step forward, eyes fixed on the massive creature, hand trembling slightly but unwavering. The beast's head lowered, nostrils flaring, muscles coiling. The intruder paused, circling warily, as if sensing the connection between the child and the colossal guardian. Then, without warning, a huge crack split the canyon floor, sending a deep fissure widening toward the ledge. Dust and pebbles fell in a blinding cloud. Soldiers scrambled, shouting warnings, trying to maintain balance. The massive beast growled low, warning the new intruder to stay back, muscles flexing as if preparing for an impossible strike. The child whispered one final, steady repetition, "You are safe." In that frozen, terrifying moment, the canyon seemed to pause, holding its breath. The massive beast stood over the child, ready to defend. The unseen intruder circled below, immense and threatening. Rocks tumbled like miniature avalanches. Dust hung thick in the air. And then, a deep rumble, not from the fissure, not from the beasts, shook the canyon with a force so immense that even the soldiers realized they were witnessing something far larger and more dangerous than they had imagined. The fissure widened further, shaking the canyon with a force that rattled every boulder on the cliffs. Dust and debris filled the air, stinging eyes and coating every surface. The massive beast shifted its weight, keeping its body between the child and the dark shadow that now moved slowly from the depths below. Alien soldiers clutched their weapons, pale and trembling, unsure whether to fire or flee. "By the stars, what is that?" one scout gasped, voice barely audible over the groaning canyon. The commander's eyes narrowed, scanning the growing shadow. "Whatever it is, it's older than any records we have. Move carefully." But no one could move. Fear had rooted them in place, and the child stood at the cliff edge, small and fragile-looking, whispering in that calm, unwavering voice, "You are safe." The shadow shifted, revealing hints of massive limbs, scaled and ridged, covered in rock-colored armor. The soldiers could see the faint outline of a face, or what passed for a face, with eyes glowing dimly, ancient and intelligent. The alien patrol stepped back, whispering among themselves, realizing that the beast in front of the child, the creature they had thought was the apex terror, was only a guardian. The new intruder was far older, far stronger, and far more dangerous. The massive beast growled low, rumbling through the canyon like an earthquake, keeping its stance protective. The child's voice remained calm, steady, whispering, "It's all right now." Even from this distance, the connection between the child and the massive guardian seemed to radiate, as if words alone could hold the beast's focus. The smaller intruder paused, sniffing the air, circling slowly as if testing the guardian's loyalty. Then the fissure below shook violently. Dust and pebbles fell like a cascade, and the canyon's walls groaned under the pressure. One soldier yelled, it's going to collapse. Everyone move. But the child did not budge. Instead, they raised both hands slightly, eyes fixed on the protective beast, whispering the words over and over. The guardian's eyes softened slightly, muscles coiling, ready to act, yet restrained by some invisible understanding. Suddenly, the dark figure below rose partially, revealing an enormous head and shoulders, far taller than any tree or cliff nearby. Its eyes glowed amber, scanning the canyon, nostrils flaring as if sniffing the air for intruders. The alien patrol froze, stunned into silence. The commander whispered, almost to himself, That isn't just a predator, it's a sentinel. This planet, this canyon, it belongs to it. The massive guardian growled again, low and steady, warning the newcomer to maintain distance. The child's voice remained a gentle constant, whispering, You are safe. The amber eyes of the emerging sentinel flickered toward the child, and something in its posture changed. It paused as if recognizing that the small human was different from the alien patrol. A sudden tremor struck the canyon again, louder this time, shaking loose massive stones from the cliff above. The soldiers ducked, some screaming as rocks crashed around them. The smaller predator darted away into the shadows, intimidated by the massive sentinel and the guardian protecting the child. The child's lips moved, steady, repeating the 3 words, calming both guardian and alien observers. Then came a realization among the patrol. The guardian's protective behavior was not instinct alone. The creature understood the child's intention, responding not to commands or fear, but to trust. One scout whispered, It can sense intentions. It's choosing to protect the human. Another muttered, voice tight with awe, That's impossible. From below, the sentinel shifted again, massive limbs pounding the canyon floor. Dust and debris exploded in every direction, knocking several soldiers off balance. The guardian stepped forward, growling, chest heaving, its entire body a shield between the child and the ancient sentinel. The child raised a trembling hand but did not step back, whispering firmly, You can trust me. The guardian stiffened but did not move away, muscles coiling, eyes locked on both the child and the looming threat. The commander's voice broke through the chaos. Everyone stay back. Nothing we know can stop that thing. But even he watched in silent awe, realizing the child was the key. The guardian's growl shifted, a strange tone that seemed both warning and negotiation. Slowly, the massive sentinel lowered its shoulders slightly, pausing in a motion that suggested recognition, as if it understood some unspoken code between the child and the guardian. A sudden crack echoed sharply, louder than the previous tremors. A section of cliff beside the soldiers splintered, sliding down into the canyon below. Dust and rocks filled the air in a choking cloud. The child coughed but did not retreat, continuing to whisper, voice clear even in the chaos, You are safe. The massive guardian lowered its massive head further, claws digging into the rock, muscles ready to strike at a moment's notice. The alien soldiers exchanged wide-eyed looks. The child, it's controlling it, one said, voice trembling. The commander shook his head. Not control, connection. That's what it is. This creature responds to calm, not force. From the fissure, the sentinel let out a deep, resonant bellow that rattled the canyon walls. The guardian growled back, stepping fully in front of the child. The child's voice rose slightly over the roar, unwavering, You are safe. The sound seemed to reverberate through the guardian's chest, through the canyon, even into the fissure below. For a heartbeat, all motion froze, and then the sentinel slowly backed, retreating just enough to give the guardian a chance to maintain its shield over the child. And then a flash of movement from the canyon's side revealed another shadow, smaller but fast, darting toward the edge. Soldiers shouted, the child gasped, and the guardian stiffened, claws digging deep. The sentinel's amber eyes flicked toward this new movement, then back to the child. The canyon trembled once more, louder than before, as if warning them that the planet itself was testing their courage. The hidden passage yawned wider, spilling shadows across the canyon floor. From its depths, the enormous, ancient presence moved slowly but deliberately, its glowing eyes fixed on the child. Every soldier froze, hearts pounding, while the guardian tightened its stance, massive claws scraping the stone as it positioned itself fully between the child and the new threat. Dust and debris swirled in the canyon, kicked up by the tremors that shook the cliffs with every step of the approaching entity. The child took a small, steady step forward, hands trembling but held out. You are safe, they whispered, voice calm yet firm, carrying across the chaos. The guardian stiffened but did not move. The sentinel paused in the fissure, watching carefully as if recognizing that the child's presence was more than a signal, it was a bridge. A deep, guttural roar erupted from the ancient entity, shaking loose stones from the cliffs above. The soldiers scrambled, shouting warnings and firing weapons into the air to distract it. But the roar did not waver the child. Their small voice rang clear, "You can trust me." The words echoed through the canyon, somehow reaching the ancient being, and a moment of hesitation froze the massive creature in place. The guardian growled low, warning the intruder to stay back. The sentinel's amber eyes glimmered, moving cautiously from the child to the guardian. It was clear to everyone that something extraordinary was happening. The child's calm, gentle words were influencing creatures that had terrified the galaxy for generations. The ancient entity advanced again, enormous claws scratching the canyon floor, sending vibrations through every boulder and fissure. The soldiers held their ground as best they could, hearts hammering, eyes wide with fear. Dust stung their faces and filled their throats, but the child remained, trembling slightly, whispering the three words with unwavering focus. The guardian moved slightly forward, roaring in low tones, coiling its body as if ready to fight, yet restrained. The child reached a hand toward it, voice steady, "You are safe." The massive creature lowered its massive head, nostrils flaring, and slowly exhaled. Its growl softened, almost as if it were listening, understanding, recognizing a pure intention it had never encountered before. Then the sentinel shifted, stepping fully into the open. Its massive form cast a shadow over the child and the guardian. The ancient entity paused mid-step, amber eyes flicking between the human child and the other creatures. For a moment, a tense silence fell across the canyon. Rocks and debris hung frozen in midair. Even the wind seemed to pause. The child's voice rose slightly, clear and calm, "You don't have to fight." The guardian's claws dug deeper into the rock, muscles taut, while the sentinel hesitated, its massive body coiling with tension. And then something miraculous happened. The ancient entity lowered its head slightly, amber eyes softening. Its movements slowed, deliberate and cautious, as if the simple words of a human child could reach into something that brute force never could. "By the stars, it's listening," one soldier whispered, voice trembling. Another muttered, "It recognizes intent, not threat." The commander's jaw tightened as he watched the child step a little closer to the massive guardian. This is what we've never seen before," he said. "A human, it's not controlling, it's connecting." The canyon trembled again, larger than before, rocks tumbling from cliffs, dust filling every corner. The smaller predator, previously darting about, froze at the edge of the canyon watching. Even it seemed hesitant to act against the child's calm influence. The guardian stepped fully in front of the child, claws spread, body tense but restrained. The ancient entity blinked slowly, exhaling a deep, vibrating breath. Then, unexpectedly, the fissure above the canyon shifted, and a series of glowing symbols appeared on the rock face, faintly illuminating the child and the guardian. The symbols pulsed as if reacting to the child's voice, revealing ancient writings about the canyon, the guardian, and the creatures who had lived there for millennia. The soldiers gasped. "It's communicating," one muttered, awe in their voice. The child whispered once more, steady as ever, "You are safe." The guardian lowered its massive head fully, curling protectively around the child. The sentinel backed slightly, moving to a safe distance. The ancient entity stepped forward slowly, towering over everything, then paused, amber eyes soft, finally acknowledging the child's courage and calmness. A heavy silence fell. The dust settled. The canyon, which had seemed ready to devour them all, now seemed still, almost reverent. The alien soldiers stared in disbelief, realizing that it was not force, nor weapons, nor strategy that had tamed the creatures, but empathy, innocence, and a human child's courage. The child reached out tentatively, brushing a claw of the guardian. It lowered its massive head, letting the small hand rest upon it gently. The sentinel observed, then slowly retreated toward the fissure, while the ancient entity finally sank to its massive haunches, calm, as if recognizing the human as a bridge between worlds. The commander exhaled sharply. This is beyond anything we imagined. Humans, truly remarkable." Soldiers whispered, glancing at each other in awe. The canyon was quiet now, tension replaced by a fragile calm. The child looked up at the guardian, then at the fissure, eyes shining with tears, and whispered softly, "It's all right now." And just as the canyon seemed finally still, a distant tremor echoed through the rock far below, faint but growing, a warning that the planet itself was not yet done testing them. The child held their breath, Guardian's massive head resting against their shoulder, aware that this peace might only be temporary.